So essentially what it is that they have come out and made the game so violent to the innocent civilians within Assassin's Creed that is something that is not allowed for the age rating, right? Against in Japan, in that Ubisoft should have known that. Ubisoft should have known that ahead of time. And the fact that the game has gotten censored completely for dismemberment and everything means that it's because it's happening against innocent civilians, which we've already seen that. We've already seen that when Yasuke literally knocked the fucking head off of a pregnant, unarmed woman. So the fact that they did that shows that they don't actually understand the cultural norms and sensitivities of Japan's rating system. They just chose to flat out ignore it. So now they ended up getting censored completely because they chose to ignore it. So instead of dismembering people that are armed, like other samurais or whatever, the fact that you could do it to civilians is a big no-no. I get it. I understand.
That's something I never looked at it, but also started concerning what's going on about level 1 unarmed woman and no penalty, eliminating that NPCs. So next question I did, do Ubisoft employees discuss internally? Have there been any conversation about Japanese reactions? Because I really want to know if they care about Japanese people.
I think most employees are quite uncomfortable giving their personal opinions on Ubisoft's version of Yasuke, even during a coffee break in the office. They are afraid of being accused of racism in this very DEI-driven society. Also, we have been seeing the Ubisoft backlash online for years now.
Wait, that's really toxic environment. And I'm sure it's happening pretty much anywhere.
So it's hard for most of us to really focus on just one case within this whole series of backlashes. This is basically the reason I wanted to talk to you and help your opinion get the support I felt it deserved. As developers, we are under NDA and cannot give our personal opinions about our own games publicly online.
I mean, my opinion is that, to be honest, okay, I do understand now that developer is also suffering about environment. They cannot speak out and also the company's decisions. But to fix the issue, I think this game needs to be failed so that company and the people on the top will know what they're doing is actually wrong. That's what I can think of. Yeah, this game needs to be failed. I can change the way I talk about this topic since I started to understand what's really going on. So I won't call them evil for now, but this game is still pretty insult.
Call them retarded. It's probably better. Call them retarded. It's better.
All right, next question. Why do you think people have such tendency to lack trust in Ubisoft?
I personally see this recent controversy surrounding Ubisoft as having two very distinct origins. The first is the overall decline in the quality and polish of Ubisoft's games over the last decade.
Yes. This is it right here. One of the biggest factors. This is why Ubisoft lost me as a customer before they started going down that fucking DEI rabbit hole. This is why they lost me as a customer. They absolutely have gone down in quality. They fucking suck. Their developers suck. Every single one of them almost suck. They do such a bad job overall on their video games lately. These games are buggy as hell. They're broken day one, and they're broken for months after release. Look at Star Wars Outlaws. How long did it take them to fix that game? 4 months? 5 months? It took them 5 months, and by the 6th month, they were changing the game heavily to go from stealth-oriented to removing as much stealth as possible or minimalizing the stealth as much as possible because the system was so fucked up. That's the level of fucking terrible that Ubisoft games are. They are in the same camp as Bethesda, in my opinion, as absolutely garbage quality games. Now, that's not to say that they're not grand games, not big open world games. Obviously, Bethesda is just known for creating those huge worlds. But you can't sit up here and pretend like these two companies do not release absolute garbage jank at the beginning and then eventually fix it later. They have a release it now, fix it later mentality. They both do.
Apart from a few exceptions, you can objectively see this through Metacritic scores, as well as general community feedback online and often
Like
sales
the stream,
numbers.
boys. Like the stream.
Some older fans of Ubisoft
We're about to
titles
hit
no longer
1,000
feel that the
concurrent.
new
Like the
games are
stream.
as creative and enjoyable as they used to be. There is a well-documented case of Ubisoft fatigue that many players suffer from. So older fans
What is
feel
that?
hurt and miss the good old days. In some cases, the hate comes from past love. Many players today grew up playing Ubisoft games.
I would agree with that. And I think that's how it goes for pretty much any studio that is getting hated on right now that has established IPs in the past that were so much better. Right? So BioWare is one of them. BioWare gets a lot of hate because of what they produced before versus what they're doing now. Blizzard is another one. Blizzard used to be the golden child of gaming. And now when they got together with Activision, I remember talking to my friend so many years ago and telling him that Blizzard is absolutely fucking cooked once they partner with Activision. It was only a matter of time. And that's exactly what happened. He didn't believe me at first, but that's literally what happened. Right? 343 Industries, that company too. It is such like, it does come from a place of passion because I played a lot of Ubisoft games. Far Cry is one of my favorite series. I love Far Cry, especially Far Cry 3 was probably one of my favorite ones. Far Cry 3 and Far Cry 4 were one of my favorite ones by far. But Ubisoft, like, it was so much fun to play some of the open world games back in the day. Now it's garbage, man. It is absolutely garbage. And they're going down the rabbit hole of just terrible quality as well as DEI, which kind of goes hand in hand half the time anyway.
And love them as kids.
Exactly. Splinter Cell games. The Gaming Wolf is right. Splinter Cell games, fucking amazing. You know how many times I want to go back to play a Splinter Cell game? All the time. I think they're on Steam. I kind of want to buy them on Steam just to have them. But I fucking love Splinter Cell games. That is such a great series. Sam Fisher is fucking awesome. But anyway.
This sentiment is also shared by many employees, and I'll try to explain why. In the last decade, while I was an employee at Ubisoft myself, I saw many colleagues lose a significant part of their motivation. Furthermore, Ubisoft has an increasingly concerning turnover rate. Senior and talented developers are leaving for other companies and being replaced by less experienced employees.
I like how they're all consistent. All of these insiders are saying the same exact thing about the developers over at Ubisoft and how they're all essentially newbies. Which, by the way, one of the heads over at Assassin's Creed Shadows admitted that over 50% of the developers working on Shadows have never made a video game before, ever. Not have never made an Assassin's Creed game ever, but they've never made a video game ever. They're that new. And over 50% of them are that new. That is a problem. That is a big fucking problem.
Very recently, the producer of AC Shadows himself revealed that half his team has never released a game before.
So another leak is saying the same things too. So it's really happening, and this is the issue. The workers in Ubisoft really losing the motivation, and then they're replaced by less experienced employees. From gameplay in the trailer, you can see it.
Yep. As you can imagine, this has
if you look at all of the bugs, if you look at all the gameplay that the shills are putting out there right now on their YouTube channels, you're going to see that it looks like it was made by amateurs. It looks like it was molded by experienced people, but ultimately made by amateurs and put out by amateurs. That's what it looks like. Like, they'll have, for every one experienced person, they probably got 20 amateurs. That's how bad Ubisoft is right now.
Serious impact on the quality of the games. Now, I'll detail more about why people are becoming demotivated or leaving Ubisoft. For profitability reasons, AAA game companies will ask developers to work on the same kind of projects repeatedly. They'd focus on specializing their workforce as much as possible. For example, if you were a programmer in charge of enemy behavior, you would be asked to do that for the rest of your career. Within Ubisoft, if you worked on a franchise like Far Cry or Assassin's Creed, management would do everything possible to keep you on those franchises for as long as possible to improve production efficiency using safe pipelines. To make things worse, Ubisoft has become well known for repeating formulas and rarely trying to reinvent the wheel. You could even be asked to create a simpler version of enemy behavior for the next project, possibly because the person who originally coded AI no longer works there.
Wow.
I believe this phenomenon also creates fatigue among developers, leading to a lack of motivation, which can eventually result in burnout or even depression. Many colleagues I know, including myself, dream of returning to smaller and more creative projects. Unfortunately, that rarely happens at Ubisoft. So, I truly believe the current Assassin's Creed team is weaker and less experienced than it was during the series' golden age, such as with Black Flag.
Oh, that's obvious.
So they changed.
I think that's pretty obvious. Right? Nobody's expecting Assassin's Creed Shadows team to be as good as the Black Flag team. Like I think that's pretty obvious at that point.
They really don't have ability to create that same quality as it was before. In result, from Japanese perspective.
But to be fair, too, a lot of these studios they're all in the same boat. The sad fact is that the people that made a lot of our favorite games 15, 20 years ago, they're quite frankly just not around anymore. A lot of them are either retired or they're off in their own studio making indie game. Guys, we just hit 1,000 concurrent. Fucking A. That is a beautiful thing, man. Even with all the supposed hate, fuck Hypnotic, he's woke, blah, still hit 1,000, bitch. Beautiful thing. Thank you guys. I fucking love you guys. You're amazing. What I was gonna say is that unfortunately that's just the truth, man. A lot of the people that we are at, a lot of people that have given us our favorite games, they're just not around. They're not around, right? Like if you guys remember old school Blizzard, you'll probably remember like Jeff Kaplan, for example, right? Jeff Kaplan is still around, but he's not around in the same aspect that he was, so many years ago. So it's unfortunate, but it's true. And a lot of these guys got very corporatized, right? These are guys who were gamers making video games for gamers, and they became very, very corporatized. They became extremely corporatized because they either bought out, taken over by an actual, bigger company, whatever the case would be. It's unfortunate, but that's just how it goes, man. And you got to find the diamonds in the rough. That's what you got to do. You got to look around and find these indie studios or AA studios that are putting out banger content. Right, like I went, what do you call it? I went and played RoboCop and Terminator, and I got to tell you, those two video games for AA games were some of the best experience that I've had in gaming in a quite a while, to be honest with you. And for two completely different reasons, right? Whereas RoboCop was more action oriented and a lot better gun gameplay, Terminator was a better narrative experience, but overall they were such good fucking games, and they were AA games. So you have to look and there's games out there, guys. There's so many games out there. And AAA used to be where we would look for games easily, but now it's not quite that easy anymore. Now, unfortunately, we got to really dig through it and find the good stuff in all the shit.
As AAA company, I think if they want to say like historical accurate or kind of stuff, I believe they have a responsibility, right? To me, it feels like they're just doing for money. Like they just don't care about responsibility. But again, these developers are not the one who made decisions.
This makes it more likely for them to make mistakes in an environment where many team members have never worked together before. The second point of controversy is the political and very unclear messaging Ubisoft conveys through its games. This started around 2018 when many spokespersons for Ubisoft games insisted in interviews that their games were not political. However, most game settings and stories used past or current political and social trends, such as the war on drugs, revolutions, societal collapse, and corruption. Many journalists concluded that Ubisoft was cowardly using politics in a superficial way, just enough to generate sales and interest, by giving the impression that their games had deeper meaning, but without truly committing to serious analysis or deeper messages. All these titles had shallow and superficial plots, and concerns about writing quality have been growing for over a decade. I think it's safe to say that the majority of lower...
So I don't know if you guys would agree with me when I say this, and you can sound off in the chat right now, but the number one thing that is plaguing the gaming industry right now, the number one thing that's plaguing the gaming industry, and I don't care what it is. It could all be tied back to DEI. If you want to tie it back to DEI, I'm sure we can have that conversation. The number one thing plaguing the gaming industry right now is bad fucking writers. Bad writers are plaguing the gaming industry terribly. And in my opinion, it's because of the bad writers that everything else tends to fall to shit. Because the graphics ain't so bad, they're obviously modernized. You got gameplay mechanics that some are good, some are bad. You pick and choose, whatever. But the writing for so many studios is garbage. It's garbage. Like I don't understand where these writers are coming from. I don't know if they got gender studies degrees or something like that, but these motherfuckers cannot write a character for shit. And then everything else tends to follow through. You guys got to remember, writing is usually one of the first things that happens in game development. So everything else is going to follow the writing for the most part. So if you got really bad writing, everything else is going to follow. And it's going to be absolute shit. And it's affecting everywhere in entertainment too. It's not just video games. It's affecting movies as well. It's affecting TV shows. Bad writing is infecting all entertainment right now. The skill level for writing has dropped down dramatically from what it was not just 15 years ago. It has dropped down dramatically, and it's unfortunate. But that's my opinion. You can agree, disagree, whatever, but that's what I think is the number one issue affecting all entertainment right now, especially gaming. If we fix that, we can make some headway.
Or level employees at the time agreed with this, and so did I. In the past, Ubisoft was known for deeper stories and stronger messages in games like Beyond Good and Evil,
like
Valiant Hearts, or Splinter Cell. Or at the very least, for fun and lighthearted tones in games like Rayman or Rabbids.
I never was a super fan of Rayman. I never was a super fan of Rayman, in my opinion. I never was a super fan. I know a lot of people loved Rayman. Great platformer, but I never was a fan of it. I don't know. It just never like sounded off to me. But that's basically it. Again, I don't know. I know some people out there that are super hardcore Rayman fans. Yeah, so you got somebody saying, "Wow, really, Hypno?" Yeah, but to keep in mind, I've told you guys many times, I'm not very big into platformers, so not exactly very shocking that I'm not a big Rayman fan. I don't think that should be very shocking. So, but anyway, let's continue.
Then, a few years later, the woke/inclusivity debate started online, fueled by movie and video game franchise.
Yeah, the only platformer that I was really into was Mega Man. Like Mega Man was oh my fucking God, I love Mega Man, which is why I have the entire collection. And one of my favorite games, it wasn't really a platformer, obviously, but Mega Man Battle Network was one of my favorite games of all times. When I tell you that I spent hundreds of hours playing that game when I was younger on the Game Boy Advance or whatever it was, oh my God, dude, Battle Network, fucking insane. I don't know why. I don't know why I was so obsessed with Battle Network. I just was. It is what it is. Don't yell at me.
That underwent abrupt changes in tone and vision, which felt forced to some fans. This felt even more forced from Ubisoft because around the same time, the Me Too movement triggered a wave of employees speaking out about their experiences with mental or sexual harassment.
So that was really the turning point for Ubisoft.
This reckoning quickly snowballed into a situation where most Ubisoft studios had one or multiple proven cases of harassment. As you can imagine, public and internal opinion of the company became even worse. My personal take is that high-level management insisted on pushing as much DEI content in games as possible to force a positive shift in Ubisoft's image and redeem themselves for having protected perpetrators of harassment.
Well, I mean, so quite frankly, Ubisoft did what Activision did. If you guys remember, Activision had a lot of lawsuits on them. Blizzard too had a lot of lawsuits, sexual harassment allegations, sexual assault, all kinds of shit, right? And the moment they were being sued for all of that, what did Activision and Blizzard start doing? They started embracing all kinds of nonsensical DEI stuff because they wanted to use it as a shield, right? A lot of these companies use DEI stuff as shields. That's what they do. So Ubisoft using DEI to better its image, yeah, I'm not exactly shocked by that, to be honest with you. I can see corporate Ubisoft saying, okay, let's do this to better our image with the public right now.
Most players perceive this as an insincere and reactionary push for inclusivity. Acknowledging this doesn't make someone racist, by the way. Now, with all this context explained, I think it's easy to see why the shadows.
Exactly. The Cliffy Show says they turn paintings of women into fruit. Exactly. I remember all of those stupid ass changes they did to World of Warcraft. It's insane what they did. All to protect their image. You know for a fact they don't give a fuck about all that. You know for a fact the developers didn't care about women in paintings in World of Warcraft, where you could barely even recognize them in the first place, since it's not even like a highly graphical game.
This controversy became such a big deal online, and with good reason.
So for now, that's all. So Ubisoft is watching these videos.
Of course
to me,
they are.
It really sounds like.
You guys know that a lot of these big companies pay somebody to watch content like this to understand like public perception and to get feedback. Of course they do. They watch these videos all the time. They probably Google, Assassin's Creed woke, and they look at all of the videos and they compile them and they hear what people are saying. And then they base their PR strategy around that to try to minimize our impact on talking about their video game. They do it all the time.
Company's direction is really wrong. So my idea, not my idea. I think.
Oh, Pulio, it's not that they care. Is that they want to strategize to try to combat what we are saying. They don't give a fuck about what we're saying. They just want to combat it so that other people, the normies, don't find out about the conversation being had right now. That's really all it is. If they can try to do certain strategies, try to quell the storm, then they're going to do it. And they're going to watch our videos in order to figure out how to do so.
True definition of.
It's kind of like know your enemy, right? You know that saying, right? Know your enemy. That's basically what this is.
DEI is that people needed DEI to prevent this, right? To prevent this happened. But DEI they have, it's wrong DEI. But yeah, it's the company's direction's fault, 100%. I think it's just.
It is kind of ironic that DEI was supposed to stop this nonsense from happening and it never did. Isn't that fucking hilarious? Like DEI was supposed to protect them from all backlash regarding anything social justice wise, and it just never did. It's insane.
Horrible leadership. And then I don't know what kind of DEI people they hired, but I think that's the problem. Because again, DEI originally exists to avoid this happened, but they're doing the opposite. They just hiring wrong people, I guess. I really hope they watch this video and change that. The breaking the mirror stuff in the shrine, according to them, it's just one click. So it must be very easy. But realize that hate comes from ignorant too, because this happened from ignorant, right? And then people who, I forgot what they're saying, but like leaving like mean comment to my ex. I believe they're ignorant, than mean people. They really don't know what they're talking about. So we should know those hate comes from ignorant too. Even they think they are against hate. Actually, that immatureness and ignorant is making another hate.
Right.
So it's a pretty complex situation now. But having this interview, I started having more clear vision of what's really going on. And as I said, I'm still interviewing. I asked very interesting questions. Is that true? Assassin's Creed Shadow is made in China? Some part? Any possibility? Is that true? They hire some bot to.
I would like to know that. I would like to know that. The first question he had, I would like the answer to that one.
Like the video, so on. I don't know if they can answer that questions, but I asked already. And I'm sure they're gonna watch this video. So if you guys have some message or some question or anything, let me know in the comment. Not me. Let people know the comment. But let's be nice. Hope this video help you to have some that pictures of what's going on and what's really going on at Ubisoft. And stay tuned.
That was a good fucking video, man. Shout out to Shohei Kondo. I'm gonna drop his link right now in the chat. If you guys enjoy the content, you're more than welcome to subscribe. Go support him. Tell him I sent you. Tell him the Woke Bigot Army sent you. And I would greatly appreciate it. But no, that was a good video, man. That was a good video. I can't wait for part two. I can't wait for part two. I want to see what what other questions get answered. He posted another video. Did he post another video? There's no way I'm gonna be able to fucking react to this video if he posted it today. Let me see. Oh, he didn't post another video about the insider. He posted a video about somebody slandering him.